Prairie View champions athletes. Hey, Coach.
Good evening, guys. How everybody doing? Okay. Right. What's going on, Liz? How you doing?
You just put it next to your.
You go ahead. Just put it where you want.
We're in that same boat.
Same boat.
I think so. Oh, that's our cable right there?
That's us.
All right, guys. How everybody doing? About that time of year again. Actually waiting on all our guys to be in by this weekend, and the interesting part is waiting to see who all show up. But I'll start off with this: is that for you guys, we had a new hiring. During the summer, Coach Price is no longer with us. He moved on, and we were fortunate enough to land a longtime friend of mine who I've been knowing quite some time. We was in the Southland together. He was at Nicholls State when I was at Southeastern as well. He started off as a manager under Leonard Hamilton at Miami, and he's been rail traveled. He come from us last year from Prairie View. He also worked at Texas Southern and got his master's at Texas Southern as well. So he's very familiar with the SWAC brand of basketball. He's very familiar with the state of Louisiana that he worked at Nicholls State. And so he brings those gaps for what we like as it relates to recruiting the region of the area. And so our new coach on the staff will be Jethro Hillman, and we're fortunate to have him. Got a lot of work cut out for him. He walked into a lot of unexpected situations that we have to really get more guys than we expected, but I got all the confidence as our recruiting coordinator that he'll lead us in the right direction. And also, it's not a new hiring, but a new position. Coach Scott will be elevated to associate head coach. He's been with me from the beginning, worked with me at Southeastern. We got a long history together, and we just thought it was time because he gives so much service to our program to him to be elevated to that position. And also, Rodney Kirshner is still with us from last year, assistant to the head coach. And then we have Peter Cipriano, who played here. You guys know that is the other full-time coach on our staff. So that's the new development for our staff as coming into this basketball season. Very excited about getting started. I think we got a lot of challenges this season. In many ways, I see it being more difficult than my first year when I took this job because I knew what I was getting into. And this situation is unexpected, what we had got ourselves into. And also, I think what makes it pretty tough is that it's still, we won't surprise anyone. I thought my first year or so here, we were fortunate enough to work hard and surprise people. But obviously, our program is at a different state, the way people look at us. So they will prepare for us, do a scouting report for us, and they won't feel sorry for us. So with that being said, that we won't feel sorry for ourselves either. The guys that we have here, we're committed to doing the very best we can. And I know the guys that come back here that we have on our roster, I know that they are committed to being a student athlete and representing this university well. We have a very challenging schedule ahead of us this season. We last year we were fortunate enough to bring in two teams, Little Rock and Tulane, into our building. Bringing Tulane to our building. This year we'll bring the Power. The marquee team that we're bringing to our building will be opening night for us, and we'll bring in Louisiana Tech. I think starting out the gates, that's real heavy with all the guys they have returning, and being that they made a great run in the NIT and probably over the last couple of years, probably got the most wins in the state. Mike White has done a great job with that program. We also have our challenges. We go on the road for quite a few games, and in that mix, we haven't bagged down from anyone. Our schedule is still pretty loaded as it relates to the competition that we'll play. With Iowa State going to Sweet 16, Baylor going to Sweet 16. You have Minnesota, who is the NIT champs, and also in a tournament play, we'll probably end up meeting North Carolina Central, who also went to the NCAA tournament. So we haven't bagged down. We haven't bagged down at all from our challenges of the people who we are playing. We're going to continue to try to grow this program. It'll be a little different for us this year because we lost a lot of guys that really contributed to our program last year. In Malcolm Miller, Javon, Young Darius Johnson, and Bryce Clark. And then to add 2 guys that won't be returning 100% is Calvin Goffney and Damon Goodwin. They would not be returning to our program. That kind of lead us in a tough situation. We redshirted Damon his first year, and coming into the season, we thought that would be our 4 and our 5 as a projected starters. And right now, we don't really have an answer as it relates to anyone with any experience in that program, in that position. And that's the one for the coaches to scratch our head and come up with a game plan and try to get better in that area. Obviously, Calvin will win a preseason player of the year. No doubt, talent-wise, he's probably one of the best players to come across the SWAC. We was glad to have him, but for whatever reason, he exercised his option to leave, which I'm not mad at him. It's disappointing that can happen to you after you work hard to try to get your team going and lose a player like that. Had talked with our team. We still recognize him as being a part of this program, but we got to go forward without him. We appreciate what he's done, but that's no way going to stop us from trying to achieve our goals. We will figure out what we need to do, how we need to play. We will get some guys better in our program. Hopefully a couple of guys that we look forward to coming in this week. If they come in, probably not as talented, but we hope that hard work will prevail. And the second piece of that with Damien leaving the program, obviously, he played very well in different spots for us. Mostly when we played very well, he would be in at the 4, and Goffney moved to the 5. And so that means that position at the 4, that's a starter in the backup that played a lot of minutes, are gone. But we will fix that problem. We won't complain about it. We know where we are. I think Jaguar fans understand the trauma that this basketball team is going through right now. But we're not going to let that be a crutch. We're going to do the very best we can. Right now, you'll look at our roster and you'll say, well, you lost 3 starters from graduation, and then you're losing probably your best player and one of your top bag-ups as well, and look to be real dim. But I promise you at the end of the day that we'll work it out. We're going to rely heavily. Probably the 2 guys that's coming back that contributed most will be Traylon Banks and Trey Lynch. They both probably average right under 10 points a game for us. They're going to have to do that and then some to continue to help us. We welcome back Christopher Hyder, who will be coming off injury. He hasn't been released by the doctor yet for full contact, but he can go through individual workouts. So we really look for him coming back into the fold and helping us quite a bit. Frank Snow is really the only big guy that played minutes last year that's returning, average about 2 points a game. And we all know that won't be good enough, but we have a lot of confidence that we'll prepare him to be better. We might change up the style or brand that we play a little bit to help ourselves out in the post, but we won't complain about that. The person that I think that probably could help us the most is probably a guy that got caught up in the shuffle as it relates to minutes being played. He started for us our first year when I got here, Cameron Monroe, and this is his senior year, so we definitely going to need his senior leadership, and we're going to need his ability of knowing the system to help us out. And we'll rely on a host of guys that we hope to show up, that will be here as newcomers. So that means there's a lot of work to be done for this coaching staff and for this basketball team. But one thing you can sure about is that we're not going to run away from the challenge, and we're going to represent this university the very best that we can.
You mentioned changing up the style of play, looking at what you got. Make you more guard oriented right out of the gate. I mean, you guys already play fast and got up and down, so I mean, how much can you change?
I think when I say change is, we did a lot of kind of isolated Calvin, a little bit more one-on-one in the post. Until we get that proven player like that, we'll probably get into more of a ball screen and roll type game. Actually, I think we'll revert back to my first year. We were really undersized my first year, and I think when we added Javon, it kind of slowed us down, and we went a little bit more, high-low with the big guys. And we're still going to do that, but I think what I'm trying to say is that we probably will put more emphasis on our early offense and then see how we work it out as it relates to who's stepping up to play after that.
You have 5? Is that what you got, 5 players right now?
As it relates to, we have 6 guys, 5 guys that on the roster from last year, but we will have a full roster. We expect, I will tell you my expectations. A guy that I think he set out last year that'll be eligible is Chris Thomas from Glen Oaks. We're going to need him to come in and play for us right away. We have Keith Davis. Right to the last minute that a lot of people have been pulling to try to get him to transfer out. He's a kid that transferred in from Texas A&M for us, and but we think that we'll be okay in that area, and we're going to really need him to come in and contribute right away for us. And we signed a couple of kids that I want to wait to make sure everybody get on campus before I go any further, making sure everybody get here, and we could talk about that roster after that.
What do you want, 10, 11, 12? How many guys do you think you got to have?
I never operated on the full number of scholarships since we've been here with the NCAA problems, but we will have 13 or 15 guys some way. We have some guys that walk on or something like that, but we will have those numbers that we need to have. We might not. And then if everything work out, this basketball staff is right as we speak in the middle of recruiting and trying to pull a couple things off. And if we can get that done by Monday, I feel even better. So that's the reason why I'm kind of hesitant to really say who we have or what we have. But we think Coach Jett, Coach Hillman has come in and done a great job along with these other guys. It's been a continuous battle for us all summer just trying to land these guys. But we think that our second tier and third tier guys, the first tier guys that we thought we had done deal, sold, we was really off and running. Obviously, they all did something else, so we had to crank our recruiting process back over again, have to explain your story all the time and get people to buy in. But we still think this late in the ball game that we may be able to find a couple of pieces that will be able to help us right away.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you going to try and find some midterms, some guys that can enroll in January to help you out, or is that going to be a need?
Actually, you come in midterm, you can't play. Okay. So we're actually trying to land a couple of guys as we speak right now to add to this roster for the beginning of the school year so they can participate right now and help us play. We've been with Traven, Mr. Scott back there, our academic guy, going over transcripts and trying to make some things happen late in the ball game for us. And I would say this about this group of guys that's returning, those 5 or 6 guys that we talked about, haven't shied away from working And I think it's an example of this staff that haven't shied away from working, because we're going to figure this thing out. People think that we are down, and it's a true statement that we are down. But when it's time to throw that ball up, we're going to put a competitive team out there on that floor. I don't know what it's going to relate in wins and losses, because we're going to be so new. But at the end of the day, we're going to put a brand of basketball out there that's respected, and ones that we can represent this university and this state and make people happy about.
With the two unexpected departures, was it as cut and dry as, hey, I'm leaving because I want to play in the NCAA tournament and you can't offer that for us?
At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. Guys, when you start talking about basketball, you start talking about lower level and mid-major teams, and even at the high level, you sell the NCAA tournament. That's every kid's dream. That's what they come to try to get themselves a chance to have that one shining moment. And when you take that away, you damage a lot of the goods that you could sell. But we've been able to sell reputation. We've been able to sell our record as off the court, what we have done since we entered here 3 years ago. And we've been able to sell our fan base. And that has put us still in the mix here at the last moment of some pretty good players that we think that could help us.
Obviously, you've done a lot to build this program, and in the grand scheme of what you've been able to build, how much of a setback is this to where you thought you would be in this year?
I won't shy away from that question. It's a huge setback. It's one of those you think you're headed down the right path. Just for any program, if you lose a guy that's probably one of the MVP of your leagues, and then you lose the bag up to him as well, and you already lost a senior class that was loaded with seniors that started and played, you had challenges already. And then the second thing is that when you think you've done a great job in recruiting, and kids shy away from that commitment because they find out what's going on, you have to start your cycle all over again. So this has been a staff that haven't had any rest, any vacation time, because we are trying to fulfill our roster. And so it's a huge setback for us, but what we're trying to do is work hard enough to eat up some of the gap. So it throws you back, probably a couple of years or so, but we hope not to let that damage us as bad as it relates to that time factor. Hopefully we can get some guys better, and hopefully that we can grow this program back at a much faster pace than it probably would take.
Yeah. That level of basketball in the SWAC, it is transitory. You do get a lot of guys, coming and going. Does that help in that competition that maybe some of the other schools around you, at least in conference play, are going to be kind of doing the same thing, or does it hurt because you're all kind of pulling from those same guys when you're trying to get them on campus?
Well, it's the thing about it is that a lot of other schools are past their penalties, and they starting to go in that direction. It seems like now we just getting caught up in something else, and so it hurts from that regard. But at the same time, we got teams that's Alabama State returning a lot of guys, Jackson State returning a lot of guys, Prairie View returning a lot of guys. That this league, it's hard to go out there and win at a good number of games this year in your league. You got to really, really be prepared. And so obviously one thing that you're going to look at our basketball team, especially after we lost those guys, you already would say inexperienced. And a lot of people would think, well, this they down year anyway. So we want to have a good down year. We want to try to bounce back. I know it's going to be a struggle, especially early on. But I have to keep these guys motivated, have to keep them focused. And, no matter if we can at the end of the year go to the NCAA tournament or not, which we'll learn that fate probably in the next 6 weeks or so, it's just going to be my job to stay mentally engaged and to keep these guys focused the best I can on getting better and lead ourselves down the wire to conference play where we can be playing a good brand of basketball. Because of what you have out there, you're going to have a lot of new guys out there, so obviously continuity is going to be important.
If you don't have the NCAA tournament to sell, how do you keep your guys motivated, and what do you sell to them?
I really don't know. At the end of the day, I would be selling. We go out there and compete every day because that's what you do. You're an athlete. I'll be selling that we represent a number of students, faculty, and staff here at Southern University. That's across our chest. That's what we do. Those are the things that I will be selling. I'll be selling not only that, but that's demanded of us. That's what we come here to do. And I think we have some buy-in, but I know when you start going through tough times, just that option of we can't do this can creep in. So we're going to try to keep them as focused as possible. And I imagine we're going to have our ups and downs with it, but I want to have more positives than negatives.
You're not selling the hell out of some playing time?
Well, that's going to be earned anyway. No matter if we got 5 guys out there, those guys know. I tell them, I sit you down and play the manager. So they know if we got 4.5, we're going to be busting it. So I'm not buying into that. I might compromise on a lot of things, but we're not going to compromise on how hard we play and how we practice and what we do to win games. That's just not going to happen. That tone would never change.
You have a unique dynamic in the fact that your own son plays on your team. You've been in the homes of some of your players with their parents. As a parent to a player on this team, what's that like internally? What do you tell him about staying with this team and his commitment to still be here?
Well, when just like I brought each individual player and had a conversation with him, I told him, obviously, it's his decision. I'm the coach here. It makes it a little bit more difficult because I have to sell guys to come here. But I couldn't get that by me being a coach and punish him in a certain way if he wanted to leave. I'm just glad he had several calls about him leaving. Of course, that was going to happen, with a kid the freshman of the year, where it's set up now that other schools recruit your best players when you're on probation. And it's sad to say that in Division I basketball, but if you look at a team that's on probation, then a lot of the better teams are going to recruit those guys. And so I'm just fortunate that I didn't have to go through that. He made a stand. He made a commitment. Not only did he make it, but Trey Lynch made it. Christopher Hyder made it. Cameron Monroe made it. Frank Snow made it. So that they made a commitment to say, Coach, that we with you, we here. And I think with that commitment being said, they know fully aware of what we're into, that they all about winning basketball games.
Selling Hawaii?
Well, we tried to sell Hawaii, but it didn't keep a couple of them here, so I don't know how good that is. But we look forward to going to Hawaii. We knew that game was a couple of years out for us, and this is the season that it rotated on. So for Christmas, we were experienced going there and play and try to get ourselves, one of the games leading up to conference play. Go away. I think it'll be good for us at that particular time to all come together and get ourselves ready for the next couple of weeks when we come back from that trip.
Is this as bad as it gets? Like, now okay, this is what we're facing. Is that at least a positive as opposed to the unknown, or is there still unknown out there?
Well, only thing is that we are very hopeful that when the administration meet with the NCAA, when we go back and meet with them and have that conversation, that we've done enough that would satisfy them, probably serve penalties already that like last season, and that they will give us that opportunity. We even talked about, if we can self-impose ourselves, what we would do. So we're trying everything that we can. But one thing I do know, and that's the reason why I'm here, is that Southern will be a much, much better athletic department because of what we've gone through. The administration have made changes. We identified our problems. Our athletic director, Will, has done a great job of hiring the necessity hires that the NCAA say we had to have. We have very competent people that know what they're doing, being trained and overtrained now, and everybody is on one accord. It's a procedure and it's a process. The institution more than all understands that, and our problem was institution control. So the university knows that when you play Division I sports, a member of the NCAA, that they have a role to play. And I hate that it took this to discover that, but now we're all working in unison, and I think that we'll be a better program going forward, athletic department going forward, and to just hope that it don't damage us where it set us back too far.
Does your expectations change based on the non-conference schedule in terms of getting prepared for SWAC play?
It does not. You know, I always come into that non-conference schedule as a preparation for us and also a challenge for us. And we've been fortunate that we have beat a couple of teams that's supposed to be a little higher level and stuff than we are. So those, I don't want to be unrealistic, but I still have approach it the same way. I still think we have some games that if we play our very best, that we have a chance to win, at least with what we had coming back at the time, that we had a chance to win. And I'm not going to bag off that because we had a couple people lead the program and make us look a little different. We're going to practice to win every ball game that we play. And in non-conference, we also, whether we win or lose them, we prepare ourselves for our conference schedule.
Where are Calvin and Damian transferring to? Did you mention that?
Calvin is going to Memphis, and Damon is going to South Carolina upstate. I think they are both in school now and on their way.
Does Damien have to sit out a year?
You know, they petitioned for the waiver. I don't know what's been the outcome of the waiver. I know he had conversation with our guys, but if he don't get the waiver pass, he does. If the waiver pass, he does not.
So as of today, how many scholarship players do you have?
I got Trey, Chris, Frank, and Cameron. I was wondering who the other one was.
Keith Davis and probably the guys that we're trying to bring in. I might be missing one, guys. I don't really. And we may be missing a couple.
Chris Thomas signed?
Chris Thomas. We don't know yet. He'll be here, and we just trying to see what we have to know at the end of the day on Friday when we meet with our athletic staff. If we could put him, you know, we'd like to get some bigs, but he is part of this basketball team.
So you got 5. You mentioned 6.
6. Keith Davis.
Keith Davis is in. Okay.
And we will have, you know, we have, to be honest with you guys, we flirting with about 7 guys right now as it relates to trying to finish this thing out.
How about that? You ever had that?
Never had that. Maybe 1 or 2 in the end, but not this many. Not this many. It's been a different world for me, but obviously it'll make me hopefully a much stronger, much better coach to understand the whole process of, you know, how this thing revolves. You know, the thing about it is that I really can say this honestly, that all the support staff here at Southern that we have really been helpful to help us get past this process. You know, our athletic director, Dr. Broussard, has really been good, all the way from all our administration, and students as well. Our student government have really stepped up, sent great emails, and kind of help us all get through it. But I'll be a better coach. I don't know, someone told me the other day, too many people couldn't handle this situation, but obviously I'm here for a reason. I'm not shying away from it. You won't hear me use it as a crutch, because I just think they get in your way when you start using it as a crutch when you're coaching your basketball team. The fans and all know what we're going through. Everybody now know what it is. It's a huge setback. And if you don't handle it, well, it could be devastating. And I'm not going to let it devastate our basketball program. We put too much time, too much work into it to let it devastate us. I'm going to keep fighting it. And I think this basketball team going to have that same fighting spirit that I have and our basketball staff have. We're not going to let them. We're going to make sure that we all have that fighting spirit.
Any more questions?
First practice can be like a pickup game?
Maybe. Maybe I might dress some of these old guys out. Coach Scott played here, Cipriani in the office there, so we might need those guys to dress out together. A few guys, so we can practice will be a little different, making sure that we have. But we will have the number of bodies that we have, because we'll use a couple of walk-ons and stuff like that. So we will have 13, 15 bodies if everything work out all right.
When's that first day for you guys?
Don't know yet, but it's going to be earlier than normal. We're going to take full advantage of our individual instruction skills because we have no choice. It's going to be almost like the first year we walked in. We give them a chance to get acclimated to their schedule, and we'll start individual workouts real soon. Probably about give them a few days to get acclimated, and then we'll start getting at it ourselves, because we're going to have to learn this team, and we're going to have that type of work in.
Coach, you had a game on the schedule, or a team that last year, I guess, kind of complained about the game in the non-conference schedule.
Champion Baptist, would that be?
Yeah.
He and I talked, and that's the reason why we playing this game. I think some type of way things got out of proportion, out of whack. He and I had a conversation the very next day after I seen. I didn't think it was that much of it. I just thought it was another game. But I tell you, that's the way it bounced. Like I told him, the year before we played you guys gave us a pretty good game. And so we just come off, losing several games, and they gave us a good game, and we was in here practicing like we was getting ready to play the Lakers. And so, and probably just happened to be that they wasn't as good as they were that year. And so the team was very much hungry. We was very much hungry. And for you realize, like I say, I wasn't even aware of that type of lead from the beginning until that clapping, and I asked the staff what's going on, because I'm looking at every possession. That's where we train our guys to win every possession. And so, that wasn't, and he know it wasn't any intent. I don't want to try to embarrass anyone or do anything like that. You couldn't ask your guys. The second half, we sat in the zone. We stopped. We wasn't playing with much intensity. And I just think a lot of that, too, when I look at the film, they missed a lot of shots that easily early on that score wouldn't have been like that. We wouldn't have had that bigger lead. But at the end of the day, he knows my heart. He knew I wasn't trying to embarrass him. And so we thought it was important for one more year that we played to let everybody know that it wasn't anything malicious on my part, and he understand that, and I understand that, and that would close the gap about that game.
Last question. All right. If there are no more questions, thank you, Coach Banks.
All right, thanks.
What's your official report date when everybody's in, the whole team?
Class start Monday.